It feels good to be back in this cockpit. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Snowpiercer Saturdays. I know we were supposed to finish Season 1 a while ago, but I had to binge Season 3 with some amazing people. I'm all caught up on the show, but I did not forget my obligations to all of you wonderful people. And by all you wonderful people, I mean the Snowpiercer fans out there, which are very few of us, because the internet hates individuality. But enough about that. We are here to talk about episode 9, which is The Train Demanded Blood. Now, I didn't talk a lot about episode 8 because episode 9 addresses a lot of the stuff about the themings of war, trauma, sacrifices, as well as the weight that comes with leadership. And I wanted to cover it more in episode 9 because of the causalities that came about because of the prior episode. Now, the entirety of the Revolution between the tail versus the first class started off on a high note where Leighton thought he had the element of surprise. The problem, though, is the themes when it comes to what trusted allies are really in your corner and who's really just in it to make their own big power play. How do you really know your opponents if you've never been in the field with them to know what they're up against in close-knit quarters and what inventory they have to back up said corners? It goes over a lot of different theming elements and weaponry tactics that kind of really reshape the mind in a huge facet that's almost like a chess game in progress. But unlike chess, Leighton has to watch as mankind itself is purely demonized to where the bloodshed that we haven't seen him really face up against is really hitting him hard. Now, Leighton as a character, as we learn in the next 2 seasons after this, is someone that is very capable and very deadly, but he doesn't like bloodshed nor to get his hands dirty if he doesn't have to. This is something that goes into a big problem for someone that's trying to lead a revolution for the people that demand something better, which is something that is capitalized from the other side of the tracks, where the only reason that the element of surprise had happened was because the first class was too busy with the subterfuge that was caused by Melanie Cavill pretending to be Mr. Wilford, who at the time of the episode everyone thought was dead. Why? Well, we find out in this episode, and find out more in the coming episodes, that Wilford wasn't really the kind person that everyone knew him to be. The plans he had for Snowpiercer were a lot more decadent and devious and very undermined to where it almost felt like he was trying to create his own pleasure palace where everyone would have just lived long enough to die and the train would have just ran for maybe a half a year before power went out and everyone was just a corpse on a fabulous train somewhere. Which, if the theories people wanted to construct in the first place about Snowpiercer was just in a shared universe with several other trains that left from a depot lot, means that the other trains that are out there would have just looked on and be like, who the fuck are these idiots? It covers a lot of things about the human condition in many different avenues, from all the supporting cast of the Folgers, Ruth's whole belief system and friendship with Melanie crumbling, Nolan Gray is present, the tail section kind of going through a lot of different trials and tribulations, sadness, loss, and kind of breaking down. Zara is present, and it just kind of bleeds itself into more of a tragedy of attrition rather than trying to muster through the act of perseverance. The whole act of trying to stay as one unit does seem to weigh heavy, especially when Leighton is given the big ultimate bomb that is set to drop, which is Zara is pregnant.
Audible gasp!
I gave you guys a minute to have that digest. Moving on. So, with everything being set accordingly, this is supposed to be the moment where the protagonist is supposed to give up their life, be killed off, blah 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 blah. But TNT realized this show was going to be popular because we have David motherfucking Diggs in this show. So we can't just have him die off. Now when everyone's too busy thirsting for him. No. Melanie Cavill gets rescued by Javi, who sold everyone out in episode 8 to get way up into the engine to try and cause some issues to happen, thanks to Miles letting LJ know a little bit about look at the man behind the curtain sort of scenario. And we ended up with a little bit of some old fun time mischief, where because of all these different moving pieces of Melanie getting in contact with the engine, to then get in contact with Leighton, to then move up with the Resistance, to then make up their own plan to thwart the plans of the First Class's plans of what they were planning for the plans.
Okay.
So, how does this truly end for the big revolution led by Leighton? Well, the Leighton Revolution ends up being just a fake surrender that leads into a sedition that is perfectly executed by disconnecting several cars of the train to then have the rest of Snowpiercer reattach to where it goes from 1,001 cars long to 994. Sacrificing several souls on the train, both good, which are some of the tailies that were taken into custody, along with Santiago and the Rev, who I wish were saved, but hey, casualties of war are a thing. To the bad people, like Lila and what's his name, Folger, you know, the white privilege family. Because LJ wanted her parents to die. Why? No real reason. Why is this supposed to be a sad moment? Because Santiago, the Rev, and everyone from the tail section. Also, Nolan Gray is present. So after that whole big kerfluffle and events are happening, the weight of authority is weighed down heavily on all peoples that made their choices to be heard. Everyone that wanted to have their footing there is now squarely confused. They're having their emotions at the highest. And at any point of any show, they would have written this to be the season finale. And yet it wasn't. So from just trying to break it down on a small scale like this, because I know it's not a long episode, you're probably just like, did I leave anything out? Probably just the stuff about Ruth having a crisis of faith where she thought that her friendship with Melanie was a lie, that Wilford was just killed off, and all the stuff that was used as audio was just to lead the herd of sheep with the shepherd to flock at a different pasture. About Nolan trying to usurp the Folgers if everything went according to plan. About Pike trying to just smooth things over with Leighton so that he can get that good life, because why is Pike still in the show? About Josie's sacrifice still being heralded so deeply that you're just like, I hope she's not dead. So many different things and then some are addressed in pure aesthetic glory. But I say, when it comes to, like I was trying to say about episode 8, I don't have to say so much because I'd rather it built up. I'm saying this again with episode 9. This is a show that is best observed and watched rather than having someone give you just play-by-plays. For critiques, because this is a review show, I have to do it this condensed. Not just because of copyright infringement stuff, but because it's best to just digest in small fragments about the themes, the pacing, the main character focuses, and the plot at hand. Because now that this is done, the wrap-up is going to be setting itself for a whole domino effect that no one really saw coming. But with that, I'm going to pause right here, because keep it locked for how we're going to end Season 1 for Snowpiercer, and how I'm going to take a pause in Snowpiercer Saturdays. But until then, I hope you guys are ready for that next stop.
Too many homies want to play Simon Says. Nobody want to play hopscotch. One step, two step, down a couple blocks till they find a brother staring at the top spot. Everything is gorgeous from the lobby. Everything is lit when you broke. Everything's enormous when you never had shit. I can almost feel the fame. Is this close? I'll be outside like damn.